Hello and welcome to Pock and Rob. A couple of months ago I did my ranking of the tracks of the album London Town by Wings, the 6th Wings album, 8th McCartney solo release. It's a problematic album. I think I said that on the video. There's material on there that really isn't, in my opinion, up to snuff. It was recorded partly in the Virgin Islands on boats, and some of it was recorded in London, both before and after those sessions. And during the lifespan of the London Town sessions, the McCartneys had their third child, James McCartney, and the drummer Joe English left, and before that, the guitarist Jimmy McCulloch left. When the album was finally released in 1978, it was muddled, it was probably too long, it didn't feel like a cohesive whole. So I'm going to try and make a London Town album that perhaps feels more cohesive. I'm going to primarily focus on tracks that were recorded when Wings were still a 5-piece band. So that's the first London sessions and the Virgin Islands sessions on the Fair Carol. As a result, I'm going to be pulling in tracks that were not on London Town as an album and ditching some of the others. So given that this was recorded primarily on a boat, we're going to dive in shortly, but before I do, please remember to like the video, hit the subscribe and the bell for notifications. So let's kick off with side A, and I'm opening the album not with London Town, but with I'm Carrying. So this is a completely solo Paul track that was recorded on the Fair Carol, and it's a gorgeous ballad. And for me, whilst it's by no means the strongest track on London Town, it says, I'm carrying something for you. I like the sentiment of that being a welcome to the album and what we're presenting as a band. Following on from I'm Carrying, I have placed Cafe on the Left Bank, which I think is one of the strongest tracks on the whole album. And I can't imagine it taking place anywhere other than track 2 on the record. Track 3, I am culling the B-side, although it's the double A side, of Mull of Kintyre to bring in Girls' School. This was recorded in the first London sessions. It is a great Wings rock track. It showcases Jimmy McCulloch's guitar playing so well. The fact that this was buried, if you can call being on a 2.6 million selling single buried, is a shame. Girls' School is a great song, and I think would definitely have enhanced London Town. My next pick is the hit single, With a Little Luck. I think this could have fit anywhere on the album. It opens side 2 on the original one. For me, it's a great song. It will follow on perfectly fine from Girls' School. And I'm closing side A with Don't Let It Bring You Down. This is the penultimate track on the original record, but I think it gets lost and buried in the morass of material that's on the overly long London Town. This is a beautiful ballad. It's wonderfully played. The Wings harmonies shine on it. It needs a more prominent place, and I think the end of side A is where it should sit. So that's around 22 minutes of music. There's no compression of grooves as we get on London Town, and a really pleasant, for me, listening experience. So let's flip the record for side B. And I'm opening side B with the title track of London Town. London Town is a good song. I don't think it's a great song. I don't think it's an album opener, despite the fact that it is the title track. And it's got such weird lyrics. Now, this is a track that maybe suffers from the fact that it was reworked a bit in the second lot of London sessions after the band had seen the departure of Jimmy and Joe, but it was also worked on in the first session. So I still think when we get the archive we will discover that this has got Joe and Jimmy on it. And track 2 is the great Lost McCartney track of WaterSpout. Amongst McCartney fans, WaterSpout is known as being one of the greatest outtakes of his entire career. The fact that it was dropped from London Town for lesser material is a shocker. The fact that it remains unreleased to this day, including the fact that it was almost on All the Best from 1987 and was dropped in favour of Sea Moon. Now, I don't like Sea Moon. I like it even less when I know that it's prevented this great song actually being released. This will be on the archive. There is no question it will eventually come out. If you've never heard it, I just suggest you go out and search on YouTube for WaterSpout by Wings and give yourself a treat. It's a great song. Should have been on the original London Town. Track 3, I have placed I've Had Enough. This is a great rock track. It's probably my favourite on the original London Town. It would now be track 3 in terms of favourite because of Girls' School and WaterSpout. But I've moved it from the end of side 1 because I've put a little bit more rock on this record. And it would have probably been a little bit too much for a great Wings album first to include I've Had Enough on side A. But here it is on side B, still a great song. Track 4, Famous Groupies. I think this is great fun. I learnt vocabulary from this, like pulchritude and what a proscenium arch was. I wouldn't want London Town without Famous Groupies. It's the penultimate track now, because closing side 2, a song I have a complicated relationship with. At times I like it, at times I loathe it, and yet it would be ideal on this version. It's Morse Moose and the Grey Goose. I particularly love the Grey Goose part. I find some of the Morse Moose stuff a bit irritating, and it's still a great album closer. It has that 1985 feel. So, side A, I'm carrying Cafe on the Left Bank, Girls' School, With a Little Luck, and Don't Let It Bring You Down. And then side B, London Town, WaterSpout, I've Had Enough, Famous Groupies, and Morse Moose and the Grey Goose. That gives us a 43-minute album. The original was 51, so I've culled quite a bit. And actually, the vast majority of these tracks here are proper, full-on 5-piece Wings. I did consider the inclusion of Mull Kintyre. Paul himself says that it was a bit odd that they left Mull Kintyre off, but would a 2.6 million selling single really have enhanced the sales of this album? Probably not. One would argue that most people already owned it. For me, this is a vastly improved version. I've called it WaterWings, which was the original working title. I think we'd have got it in 1977, and perhaps Jimmy and Joe might have stayed around. Certainly the fidelity of the record would have been better instead of it being crammed grooves. I think this gives a great Wings album experience. Every bit as good as Venus and Mars. Certainly nudging towards Band on the Run quality. Certainly it's Band on the Run length. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments below. So it just remains to remind you to like, subscribe and hit the bell. Thank you very much for watching. I'll be back in a week with my son continuing our top 100 tracks. But until then, thanks for watching.